So as professors at Biola, our job is to prepare students to go into careers in healthcare and in science. Why do we think it's so important for Christians to be in these fields?
As a chemist, we are trained to eventually go into two major areas. One is academics and one is pharmaceuticals related to human health. And so we really want people that have strong moral fiber and ethical and conviction within themselves to be able to, for example, report correct data on efficacy of a drug, anywhere even from academic research to being able to actually carry out the research that you require federal grant money for. So we need that type of honesty and integrity in science today.
Why, as Christians, do they specifically bring those?
Well, I think just because there's this drive for money. Money is still a big driving force in science, whether we choose to admit that or not. It's kind of a reason I think many of us went into science, because it wasn't about this pursuit of money. But sometimes, saying the correct thing and reporting the correct data will end up with a result that's not favorable. And we need people to be able to do that, even if that means that their project is not a success.
Yeah. We have to make sure that our students know that glorifying God is the end result of their research, not getting another grant.
Yeah.
And giving false data is not glorifying to God.
Right.
I think we can provide unique leadership there.
There's also an ethical component in the sciences where you'll see people say, well, if we can do it, then we should. Technology drive. And there's a whole sense of, well, wait, human life is valuable. And there's things that, aren't entirely neutral in the sciences. And we should be cautious about, oh, we can do it, so we should kind of thinking. And that's something that the Christian perspective brings in, says, we should be cautious because this might be misused.
I have a strong bias that we need Christians in all roles and positions. And if I were able to make that happen, I would love to see believers in positions of influence all through science, health, and technology world. It impacts us in so many ways in everything that we do. And sometimes having that voice, as you mentioned, or that counterbalance, or someone who's at least going to ask the question from a different perspective, and even down to the point that we might be the only Jesus that someone ever sees, and being able to engage them on that level of love.
Yeah, I think we have a unique thing to bring as well as Christians, is that if we really believe that God's creation is worthy of just studying for its own sake, we have the chance to go and enter areas that are, I think, maybe neglected by the rest of the scientific community, because if it's not immediately profitable, or if it doesn't have an immediate end in mind, then a lot of things are not going to get funded and they're not going to be pursued. But if we're just pursuing God's creation for showing His glory, then we can go explore those things that are being overlooked and might actually bring wonderful profit to healthcare, to the pursuit of knowledge. There's these, I'm going to get really technical, but there's these really small RNAs that are expressed in cells that we never knew about, and we only learned about them because somebody was studying how the digestive system of a worm developed. And then we find something about these small RNAs that now we find hundreds of human diseases and disorders are involved with these small RNAs that we never were looking for because it wasn't profitable. And it might not have gotten a grant or renewed something, but if we need more people, and I think as Christians, we don't uniquely provide that. I think there's a lot of people that are passionate about studying the natural world, but we as Christians are uniquely suited to go pursue those things that maybe are not profitable or maybe not, as immediately have a cash payoff.
Yeah, like when we think about Christians, like we see a lot of Christians in ministry going on to mission fields, helping out the poor. And then we see like this small crowd of intellects all around the world who have such influence. And I think to be able to reach those crowd of people, we ourselves, we have to be equipped intellectually as well to be able to converse with them and to rationally explain to them and really share the gospel. And I think that's our calling.
Yeah.
It's
Just
sort of like an
ahead.
unreached people group.
Yeah.
That's how I sometimes think of it. It's like, geez, the scientific community is an unreached people group. It takes a certain language, a certain set of skills, a certain reputation to gain a voice for Christ in these disciplines. So we need more Christians doing that.
Yeah. Christians at the bedside explaining the complicated disorder to a family member, and Christians in the sciences explaining God's glory to people who know the high-level cell biology of what's going on. Yeah.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.